Hello, everyone. I'm Wendy Liebman. I'm the CEO and Chief Shopper at WSL Strategic Retail, and this is Future Shop. Here I talk to innovators, disruptors, iconoclasts, and big thinkers who are shaking up the future of retail. Today, my guest to kick off the year is all of those: an innovator, a disruptor, an iconoclast, and a very big thinker. She is Mindy McKnight. Those of you who are social media followers, aren't we all, or you should all be, especially if you're viewers of YouTube, will know Mindy and her extraordinarily beautiful family, and now her hugely successful Heritage by Mindy brand. I've been a follower of Mindy's success on YouTube, her cute girls' hairstyles, and at Walmart. It was only this past October that I actually got to meet her or to hear her speak at the Emerson Industry Day event. And I was absolutely bowled over by her acumen, her passion, her work ethic, and her just joy in her business development, and really about the very modern approach she has taken to building a brand. And so that's what we're going to talk about today as we take our first steps into 2023. Welcome to Future Shop, Mindy.
Thank you. And thank you for having me. Really excited to be here.
Yeah, no, it's great to have you. I feel like, you bring a whole new modern take on building brands in this world. So I'm really excited to have you here. So let's begin at the beginning. 2008, I think it was.
Yes.
Why the heck did you go to YouTube and expose all your beautiful family to the world?
So I actually originally started as a blogger when the days of the blogosphere, was huge. And we got to a place where taking the pictures wasn't really cutting. It just didn't showcase how to do the hairstyles as well as we wanted. And at the time, it was relatively new, but YouTube had just started. And we literally put up our first few videos simply as a place to embed the videos that we were trying to house. So we didn't even think there was like a career in YouTube. It wasn't a thing yet, being a YouTuber. So that's literally how it started. It was truthfully quite by accident.
So prior to that, when you were vlogging, this was really all about helping other people have good hair days, right?
Yeah, it was. Literally, if you look at some of my original videos, they're very scary, but it's like bad lighting. My kids are on the bathroom countertop. I'm still in my pajamas. It's truthfully like a very organic mom just doing the little girl's hair in the morning as they're rushing out the door to school. And we were just doing creative hairstyles, and it was before the days of Pinterest. So people were excited to see what we were coming up with.
Yeah, what amazes me that you even thought about, did somebody say, friends, family, people say, I don't know what to do with my kids' hair? And you said, well, I do.
Well, I think again, sort of an organic story, if I'm being honest, because I had 5 girls. And so we were doing a lot of hair at home. And we were just trying new things and being kind of silly and fun with their hair. And it was a great time for me to go over spelling words or, just like talk to them one-on-one. When you have as many kids as I do, it's hard to get one-on-one time with them. So that little moment in the morning was always kind of nice. And then as they would go out and about, people would be like, can you undo that hairstyle and show me how to do it? And so finally we were like, let's just start a blog and put up these pictures, because this is, if nothing else, it would be like a great memory book for our kids, right? Of like, how many hairstyles did we do when you were little? That's kind of where it all started.
Yeah. So now that you've talked about your family, as I did, tell us about the family first. So for those of you who don't know Mindy, you'll, click on immediately, but just tell us about your gorgeous family.
So I am married to my lovely husband. I think we hit 25 years this year. And then we have 6 beautiful children between us. We have a multiracial family. So I have 4 biological children that are obviously white, and then 2 adopted Black children at the end. So there's 6 total, 5 girls, 1 boy.
And so within that, a lot of interesting hair issues, no doubt.
A lot of varying hair types and textures, and learning how to do all of the above and really do great things with all of the hair.
Yeah. So at what point, after showing people, how to do something with their hair, as you took the kids to school and brought them home and chatted with them and did all of those things, at what point did you decide it was actually time to develop products for people's hair?
Well, I mean, because we were YouTubers, we were often getting approached by brands to do sponsorships or, campaigns with them. But every time hair came around, it just didn't feel like we really shied away from it. And I don't know if it was strategy, because I don't even think we were thinking strategically at that point, but we just naturally kind of shied away from doing a lot of hair branded content. We wanted it to just be more organic. We didn't feel like there was a brand that just really resonated with our family and hit all of our family's needs. And so it didn't make sense to speak to one brand. And I think ultimately that frustration, both as a mom and a consumer, is what kind of led to the development of Heritage. Was just like, hey, I'm not finding what I need. I'm having to shop 2 aisles. I'm finding really amazing ingredient lists in these products, but they cost a fortune. I'm finding terrible ingredients in these products, but they're affordable. So how do I bring all of that together to find and create something that works for my entire family?
Well, most people wouldn't automatically think about, okay, now let's develop a brand, right? So you and your husband have business backgrounds, right? I mean, was that something, or you were just like, whatever, we can do it better?
All of the above. I'm naturally a little competitive. And so I think I'm not afraid of competition. I'm not afraid of working hard and, really digging in. And I think when we could see, we could work with other sponsorships or we could do it ourselves. It just kind of made sense. I did grow up with, my dad's an entrepreneur. I come from a long line of entrepreneurs. So maybe it's something just in my blood. And my husband obviously has a really great business background. So the combination of the two, I think we were just a little more courageous maybe than other people.
Yeah, I come from a background like that too. So sometimes people say to me, why did you start your own business? And it was like, well, I sort of watched my family do that, and the ups and downs, right? Oh dear, that wasn't a good move. Whoops. Or, oh, that's a good year. Or how do I do something I like and bring the family with me, and all of those sorts of things. So I when I first heard you talk about that, I thought, yeah, I get it. I get the entrepreneur thing. So it's brave and bold. So what made you, having come out of sort of what I would have called the digital economy in terms of YouTube and before that as a blogger, why did you decide you wanted to launch in physical retail when you started with Walmart versus, I can do DTC or, whatever?
So we actually have and own a couple other brands that are D2C. So we have done that business model. We know what that feels like, looks like. I mean, we do all of our own fulfillment in-house. I mean, everything from the ground up. And I think with the hair thing, it just made more sense. It's quite overwhelming. It's a big, finding manufacturers, developing formulas. Obviously, I'm not a chemist. I mean, there's a lot more to that one than just simple products. And so I think we knew immediately we needed to find a really good partner that had some, intellectual capital they were bringing with them, and then using my intellectual capital and my expertise in the digital realm and the marketing realm to kind of marry those two. And then if we could find the right partner, we knew that we could really push it to retail and go big or go home. So that's what we just went for it.
And that's what you've done, right?
Yeah.
Gone big, not gone home. You go home too.
Most people don't go to Walmart right out of the gate. No.
Right, usually. And Walmart doesn't say, come to me if you're really a startup brand. So I think clearly between the two companies or the two organizations or the three organizations, you really, saw that in each other as you developed all of that. One of the things that struck me about that was you have created a really unique proposition even within Walmart, right? Instead, you talked about running up and down the aisles as a mom to try and find this product or that product, and not very convenient. So you really convinced them to bring it all together at Walmart, right? Can you talk a little bit about that?
I mean, I think it was really lucky because when we went in, our buyers were looking for a brand that they could help build. And they were also just really eager to try a few new things, and they could see the digital expertise. And Walmart's always trying to get better. They're learning just like we all are, right? And so they were like, let's try it. There's this new brand. It has a digital piece. We think we can do something here. And so we got lucky that the buyers were willing and able to say yes to us because we really had I had no retail experience, right? Very little. And my partners had worked with, Target and other retailers, but I think it was their first foray into Walmart. So we got lucky with the buyers, but Walmart was also ready and eager, which really helped too.
Yeah, it felt to your point, and I think we all know that if you're an entrepreneur, it's your boldness, your willingness to shake up things a bit, but your timing also can be really helpful in that. And it struck me that seemed to be at the moment when Walmart was also bringing together their merchandising staff, their digital merchandising and their physical merchandising staff to say, what's that, whole thing that we can, because that's the way people shop. So it felt to me like right brand, right place, right integrity, heritage.
Very much agree. I think that all of those combined, I think that they were very willing to listen to the ideas we were bringing to the table, and we were willing to listen to the information and the just wisdom that they had and the data they were bringing to the table on things that moved or didn't move and how well they moved. And so it was like this, truly, when I say we built the brand, like my first buyer, Rachel, she and I still talk, like we're in text to each other. I mean, when I always joke, I'm like, our baby, it's like our baby, we built this brand, like it's our baby, so it was a beautiful relationship to have at Walmart.
Yeah. That's the other part I think of thinking about a modern brand, because that collaboration with the retail partner, often it's big national brand, lots of doors, same product basically everywhere, but more and more retailers wanting to have some degree of exclusivity for a period of time. And it felt to me like that was the other thing that really helped get this brand to where it needed to be. You all working together with the same goals here, which was really interesting. The other thing that struck me, and this struck me when I heard you talk in October, was the piece about how you collaborate with the community you have. And you really, tell us how many millions, billions, but that you engage your community of followers to help you think in some ways about the development of the brand, right?
Yeah. Well, being an online personality, content creator, influencer, whatever you want to call them, you definitely are getting real-time feedback all the time from your, audience. Sometimes it's terrible and horrible, and sometimes it's great. But I think it's like having a giant think tank. It's kind of like the old school focus groups, that companies used to pay for. And I mean, literally, if we're having a debate in one of my meetings, I can literally be like, hold on, I'll put up a poll and I'll pull it. And, within a matter of hours, we can have 50,000 responses, and it's just like, okay, well, then this is how we should go. And so I think it's just like, sometimes you sit in a room and you kind of are in a vacuum. You think you're making these decisions that everybody wants. And in reality, maybe it's not what everybody wants. And so my little pieces and access to my community allow us to have those sneak peek moments that make it a lot more focused to what actually is going to fix the problems the consumers are facing. But I think also a lot of brands aren't willing to pull back the curtain, like just allow them in. And so, I mean, they see me on a bad day at the warehouse packing up boxes. They see me at a good day when I'm walking a red carpet for something, whatever it may be. They're kind of along the journey, and everybody loves a good underdog. And I think that they feel like they relate to me. So it's like, oh, this mom that had all these kids and now she's trying to build this brand and she's like the underdog and we want to root for her. And then you ask them things like, hey, should I do this gray or this gray for the hot tools? And you allow them to be like part of the conversation with even the basic stuff. And when then you put it on the shelf, they're like, I helped build this product. Like, I relate to it. This is something that we designed, that we helped with. I remember when she asked us this question, I'm going to buy this because I have this now relationship with this brand and this product.
I think that's so interesting because we, traditionally in consumer packaged goods and lots of things, fashion, all of these things, right? There was always this, there's the brand, and the brand will tell you what, Wendy, what you should wear, how you should, do your hair, what price, all of that. And that feels like it's being totally democratized now with successful businesses, whatever it is, in all the collaborations, whether it's designer collaborations for fashion or whether it's, as you say, in all the the beauty care, particularly the hair care side of things that you've created. Where does that, I mean, there's obviously some limitations to that in terms of the questions you ask, what you do and what you don't. Where does that work best? And where do you say, oh, I'm not going to ask on that one, or I'm going to limit the choices or things like that?
I mean, it's definitely guided discovery, right? I mean, you're not going to be like, what color should we make our hot tool today? And I mean, you might get like black and white stripes with pink crisscrosses, you know? I mean, you're not going to go that crazy. You're just, I think it's knowing when you can present options, or if you're stuck between two taglines for a campaign you're running or something that's maybe not going to live forever in the future. You know, it's like something that's a little shorter time frame can be useful or helpful. A lot of times it's just questions like, hey, we're talking about launching new products again next year. What do you guys feel like the line needs? What don't we have? And those, you know, you can bring that back and, I mean, get a lot of feedback on whether they're more interested in being earth friendly and earth conscious, or they're more interested in having a pump on the bottle, or if they're more interested in, you know, fragrance free and that type of thing. Like, you get a lot of feedback on that kind of thing you can get from your audience.
Yeah. And so that feels you really have sort of an insider view in terms of those emerging issues. I mean, you know, we know big companies sit there and say, oh, well, it should be this versus that. Or when you were talking about, you know, people caring about, is the packaging sustainable? What does it even mean? Does it matter? What's the price that I can afford? Those, even where you're using that as sort of just general discussion, you must get some good feel for what your audience wants here.
Yeah, one example was when this new stuff that I'm launching coming next year, we were discussing whether or not to put pumps on the bottle or not. And obviously from a margin standpoint, pumps are more expensive. So my team didn't want pumps, and I kept telling them the consumer wants pumps. And so we finally just went to a poll. We were like, hey, would you rather pay a little bit more and get pumps, or would you rather pay a little less and not have pumps? And like overwhelmingly it was pumps. Like, everyone wants pumps. And so just things like that are so simple, but it's such interesting feedback. And if you go where I'm going next on the shelf, like, there's not a lot of pumps. So that's actually a great differentiator for my brand, is that I do have pumps, knowing that people want pumps.
So you're not going to tell us all about this, right? Yeah, we just have to wait.
Oh, I can't give it away.
And see what you reveal.
Yet, no.
Oh, I don't know. Maybe we'll if we were there in the room together, I could tickle you, because I know that you guys like a good laugh and a good song and a good that. So maybe we could have tempted you with something, a cocktail, something like that. Anyway, do you think, so the way you built certainly Heritage by Mindy, I mean, as you say, you built other businesses and you've now done your daughters now have a skincare line, ITK. I get the initials round the wrong way all the time because it means something, right? Tell me what that means.
In the know. It means
in the know. Thank you. I knew I could do it if I looked at my notes. In the know. So do you see the model that you've created here, the sort of the filling the gaps, building a relationship, collaboration with a retail partner, all of those things. Is that a model that can work across hair, across skin? Do you think that works, I don't know, across soda? I don't know, making it up. Or do you think it's selective to a category?
I don't think it's selective to a category. Mm-hmm. I think it could work other places too, but I think you have to really find the right partners. Like, I think you have to find the right founder or, face of the brand. And it has to be somebody that's actually like really in tune with their brand, whatever that is, like whatever their people are wanting. They have to be really aware of it. Like, I've met plenty of content creators over the years, and some of them do it really well and others don't do it very well at all. And I think just finding the right ones that are also business savvy enough to be able to start a business and like run it like an equity partner, not just like a royalty, I'm going to put my face on a bottle and hope for the best kind of thing. I mean, because I really am in the weeds like every day. I mean, this is my brand. I eat, live, and breathe this brand. And I think it's that passion and that drive that people resonate with. They can feel it. When you see the shelf, it looks and feels like me or my family, and it sounds like me on the packaging or in our socials that we post. And I think that's very different than the royalty model that has been happening in the past with like more like A-list celebrities.
Yeah. And I do think about it too, then that quality, that integrity and intensity that when brands sell to big companies, so often that is lost. I figure there's a moment where big companies will learn when they need to keep their founders with them and let them run. But
I agree.
That seems to be the issue, right? That's the traditional model has been, okay, thank you very much. Here's the money. Now go away.
I agree. And I think that CPGs, like big CPGs, need to recognize that that's some of the secret sauce to the brand is that founder and their voice and the way that they want to touch and feel, or knowing where to put money and pull back because of margin or things like that. That sometimes, you know, if they're just looking at shareholder bottom line, is easy sometimes to clip and get rid of. I think Honest has done a really good job at it, like with Jessica Alba. You know, Hello Bello is doing a decent job at it with their founders. So I think there's a few that get it, and the ones that get it are doing well. So it should be a model that CPGs want to keep copying.
Yeah. And I do think it's learning. I think in the beginning it was, oh, gee, these people, these smaller innovators, whether they were content creators or they began mixing a potion, you know, like Carol's daughter in the bathtub and in Brooklyn or something, you know, and big companies said, oh, we can't innovate that quickly. Let's buy the innovation. But they bought the innovation and they lost the heart of the brand. Yeah. So
and that's maybe the biggest takeaway right now, in my honest opinion, is like, you have to be a brand that has a heart. Like, I don't think if you're just a heartless brand that's like a no name, you're just sitting on a shelf, pumping out commercials, it's not resonating with consumers anymore. The way that they absorb and, you know, they're on their phones all the time. They're getting so much information fed to them. They want to believe in something. They want to feel something, whether it's good or bad. You probably heard me mention this in Emerson, but I always say with my social team, you have to either make them laugh, you have to make them cry, you have to teach them something, or you have to make their life easier. You know, it's about how are we helping the consumers? Is there an emotion that we're evoking when we're bringing things forward, when we're showcasing things, when we're going out to market? If we're not doing our job right.
So do you think of yourself still as a content creator, as a storyteller, whatever you want to call that, as opposed to a brand developer?
Hi, can I say all of the above?
Sure.
The above? I mean, honestly, the heart of it is that I started as a YouTuber. I mean, so I'll probably always identify to some degree as a YouTuber. Content creator now, influencer, I think would fit. But I mean, obviously the portfolio is diversifying now to entrepreneur, you know, mentor, whatever you want to call it. So,
yeah. So mentor to your community or beyond that?
I try to be all of the above. Certainly other women-owned brands that are starting up. I mean, I definitely believe that a rising tide raises all boats. And so if I can help in some way, happy to make a connection or a phone call, give you advice, always that kind of thing. I believe strongly in karma. Karma always comes back, you know, and I just think you've got to put good vibes out, do good things for people. Consider myself a mentor for my girls and their burgeoning ITK brand, you know, and kind of walking them through some of the pitfalls or the wins of doing retail and working with partners and building out your own brands. So all of the above.
Yeah, no, that's great. Now, speaking of your family, I mean, you really have built this media world in addition to all these other aspects of it. And it's constant, it's demanding. I know you've talked about how, you know, you're always on your phone and because it's part of the way you build your business and stay connected. How do you manage that balance between, I mean, you had a wonderful wedding for your older daughter and like, it all blew up, right? Because I don't mean the wedding, it was fabulous. Everybody was like so excited to be part of the wedding. How do you balance that? Is there another McKnight family that we don't see that's hidden behind closed doors? I mean, how do you balance it?
The McKnights after dark. That's what we always say.
After night,
after
right?
Dark.
After McKnight, right?
Yeah. What you actually see online is like such a small piece of what we really do. I mean, I might film in a 24-hour period of time 30 minutes. You know what I mean? It's just not that much of my actual day. So certainly there is still like the mom who's driving the soccer carpools and cooking dinner and feeling frustrated because I don't have my Christmas shopping done and it's almost time to get it going. You know, there's all of the very normal mom things behind the scenes and normal human things. But I think that so yes, there is another side to what you see, but it is a very precarious balance. I think that just in general, people never feel quite like you can do it all. And I think you just have to give up the dream of doing it all. Some days I do momming better, and some days I do CEOing better, and some days I do content creation better. And I'm probably not ever going to find that perfect balance. And I think it even changes as my kids grow, you know, and their needs change. So it's an ever evolving process and an evolution of figuring out. I mean, at the beginning of the year, my husband and I always sit down and have like what we were doing last year on shared household duties working? Do we need to reassess that? You know, do we need extra help inside the home? You know, what's happening? Like, what does it look like? And I think those are really healthy conversations to have, that just recognizing that sometimes you just might need help. Yeah. You can't do it all.
Yeah. So you launched Heritage by Mindy at the very beginning of the pandemic. Is that right?
Yeah.
I think it felt
we
like
launched in February of 2020 and the pandemic hit in March. So yeah, don't do that. Biggest advice, don't do that.
Well, do it. You learn a lot, right? When that happens.
You learn a lot.
Yes, you learn a lot. It's amazing as entrepreneurs or any business person, as long as you absorb what you learned, right? Yeah. So what are the things you learned that you would, pandemic or not, about doing business with a big partner like Walmart?
I mean, certainly during the pandemic, supply chain has been an issue. We've probably learned a lot more about supply chain than we thought we would be in, you know, the first 3 years, and raw ingredient supply, you know, that kind of thing. Walmart, prepackage your end caps. I think that was a huge learning lesson, like, because our first ones went out and then we were like, oh my gosh, we should have prepackaged them. So we don't do that anymore. Yeah. But I think it's just a lot of work. Just go into it knowing that you're going to do a lot of work. I quit. Yeah. Like, have you ever heard the saying, I quit my 9 to 5, so I now work 24/7?
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. When your name's on the package, right? Yep. Then there's a lot of things. I remember the story of Estee Lauder, who was ready to launch a line of something and looked at the package and said, this isn't right. And everything was done. It was ready to go out the doors. And she pulled the whole thing. She said, oh, no. And they were like, no, it's going to cost. She said, that's my name on the package, right? So it's it's a very different proposition. So when your girls work on, I think of them as ladies now, women. I don't think of them as girls so much. They've so grown. But when they work on ITK, how are their perceptions of building a business different? I mean, I'm thinking about the generational differences versus, you know, when you started many years ago, in 2000 and whatever that was. Are they different when they think about what they want their brand to be and how they go to market and how they tell their stories?
I think there's similarities and differences. They definitely are even probably more digitally aware than I am, having grown up with a phone in their hands their whole life. I mean, I'm kind of a Zennial, you know, so I had like the analog childhood and now had the digital adulthood. And the girls, for the most part, Brooklyn and Bailey have grown up digitally. And I think that they view things and see things much quicker and faster probably than I do, or trends. They're much more likely to jump on newer platforms than I am or move quicker. They're just very lean and nimble, I would say. I think that their generation has learned how to be nimble. Things are moving so rapidly. So it's really great to see that. And that's great feedback for me. It's awesome when they can bring me information and be like, hey, Mom, there's this new platform. And then I'm like, hey, there's this new raw ingredient shortage. You know, we kind of bring each other information and it's helpful to both brands.
Yeah, I do think, again, the whole thing feels like you have this sort of collaborative view to building whatever it is, you know, between your community of followers, the way you work with Walmart, you know, your daughters, the way they think about it, that it's not that sort of top-down, whatever they used to call that, meritocracy or something, about, I know better, I am the CEO, and this is what you will do, and maybe we'll do a little research for shoppers, consumers. And
I agree. It's really fun with our family because we have so many social channels that we can collaborate within our family. So example there on Thanksgiving, obviously the twins had coordinated with the retailer to have markdowns on for Cyber Monday, for Black Friday. And they were planning on, they had a whole launch strategy developed and ready to go. And we were sitting around as a family like the night before. And my other daughter, Camry, and I were like, you know what we should do? We should post about this before the twins. And so we sat and kind of had a conversation about hey, we should leak this for you, we're going to leak it. So they knew we were leaking it. Obviously we wouldn't have done it without their permission, but Camry and I got on our socials and we kind of spun this whole story of we're telling our audiences now so you can go get the sales because once they're gone and you guys need to jump on it. And then the twins, the next day talked to their audience about it. But it was a really fun way to just, it's so different than just you're hey, it's on sale, go buy it now. It was just a really fun collaborative way to do it. And that's one of the really unique things we have working together so closely as a family.
Yeah. And I do think, there are so many choices out there today. I don't care whether it's hair or skincare or sneakers or whatever, right? And to have that, you can see the fun behind not only watching you, and the whole family, I was going to say the girls, but there are two men in the place, right? Between your husband and your son, who I assume are included at various points in time. I'm very, female supportive in my end of the world. So that whole focus, though, of sharing that and the excitement and the fun and the game of, togetherness in all of that gives it a very human quality that is true, right? It's not, oh, well, here we are pretending to be a big company pretending to be, a small family or something. So I think that's part that really shows for the brand. So how do you grow? How do you think about growing the entire enterprise, if I may call that, the McKnight enterprise? Maintain your integrity, your soul. How does that go when you're building a huge business here?
I think it depends on, I think the answer is different for everybody. For my family, it was conscious decisions not to move to LA. It would have been an easy move back in the day to go where we thought all the other influencers were living at the time. And we just kind of made the conscious decision that it wasn't right for our family. And we wanted to have a little more normalcy within where we live. We wanted there to be work and then we wanted there to be home and kind of had two very different feels. And so as far as normalcy, my kids still empty the trash can, we're doing all the normal things. It's just that when we go to work, we work big and we work hard. And what we do for work is in front of a lot of other people. And I think that, that's going to continue as we build the brands out either way.
Yeah. So clearly you've got things coming soon that you will not tell me, even if I tickle you virtually. Can you feel me tickling your feet? So you're not going to reveal that, but when will we know what's next? Soonish?
Let's see. The new Wet Care always launches at the end of January at Walmart. So we do have another shelf coming. So that will have all new fun products that I think people are very, very eager for and excited about. And then later in the year in March, we actually are expanding to a new category for the first time.
Okay. Shall I point to a spot on the body or could it be something? All right. You're not going to tell me. I know it. Whatever it is, you're not going to tell me. It's all right. I'm just looking for the brush, right? As I said, I gotta check out the brushes. So for you, you have a unique view of retail. You've got a DTC business, you've got the heritage and ITK businesses, Heritage by Mindy, sorry, and ITK businesses. So when you look at retail around the US, what do you see as opportunity out there? There's a lot of specialty. There's certainly the big boxes like you're in. Do you see any areas of retail that are exciting just as an observer, just as a shopper yourself?
Digital. I am so heavy on the digital. It's My piece of advice to brands in general, CPG companies, retailers, would be, if you're not spending heavily in your digital, like, you need to take your marketing monies and stop spending them in the traditional ways. I mean, those are great too. Take half of your money and, focus it on your ad spend or your commercials or whatever you're typically doing, but move the other half to content creation, affiliate marketing, PR box send outs. I mean, whatever. The newer, run some TikTok campaigns. Like, you've got to get into the space where the eyeballs are and the new consumer is. As soon as TikTok or Instagram figure out a really great way of turning on the shopping capabilities, like in app, it's going to completely change the game. I mean, Amazon's already taking some of that digital, online shopping, but I think we're going to continue to see that build out too, with, WMG building out, with all these other retailers building out their own web spaces, even more, their own D2Cs or their own .coms very well. I think it's just going to continue to see that growth in the digital piece.
Yeah.
And I actually think it's really exciting, very exciting.
Yeah. It also feels to me, especially when people talk about, the retail media that they're working on now, that it's not just, oh, here's another campaign that's going to be flashing around on a screen in the store, but where they're really trying hard, and I don't know who's got there yet, to look at their data, look at, not only just purchasing data, but look at shopper data, what we would call shopper data, so they can customize and personalize, much overused term, the message to be relevant to me when I want it. And so it feels like that's the exciting piece that's floating around. And dare I ask, metaverse?
Yes, I'm very interested in to see what happens there. I mean, I own, been in the metaverse, shopped in the metaverse, all the things. So, definitely very interested to see what happens there.
Yeah, it's interesting. I heard the CEO of PacSun talk about how they had used their metaverse to, develop unique T-shirt design and, build out sort of NFTs, and then think about how that would fit. And Nike does a lot of work on it. It's interesting to me because you've either got people who just poo-poo it and say, oh, this is another shiny thing that's going to be nothing, or you realize the people who love to game, who love to play in that space, who love 3D, it feels like there's so much that we haven't even discovered yet. So you're probably much closer to it than me.
I actually think it's so much more tangible than that. I mean, maybe I'm over, and maybe I'm just too close to it, but I think that it's so much more tangible. Right now, people are always like, I don't want to spend 8 hours a day in the metaverse. And in reality, you already are. You're just doing it in 2D. Look at your screen time on your phone. Right. You're already there. I mean, the only difference is the 2D versus 3D-ality of it, right? And so if you can, if I could figure out how to shop and put on some goggles, and then now I'm suddenly in an Amazon store and I can touch and feel the product, to look at it up close and turn it around, and, then I just check out on my phone just like I am now. Why wouldn't I do that? It's even better. It's a much more visceral experience than your 2D flat screen computers or TVs. Yeah,
I've been thinking about that lately because I've been looking for a rug for the living room. Yes. And I've been like, wait a minute, but how will that look in the space? How will it feel when I walk on it? All of those things, right? And some people have obviously beginning to do work there, but it certainly does feel like there's so much more in that than just sitting there and, watching, I don't know, Star Wars in 3D or something. So maybe that's good too. But yeah, there feels like there's a useful component to it in addition to the sort of emotional, wow, gee whiz kind of thing. So I'm glad to hear that you're in that. So if you see somewhere that I can go and try on the rug, let me know, because I'm really desperate for that at the moment.
Yeah, I haven't seen where you can feel it yet, but certainly, there's the online places where you can put it in your room. I mean, it's starting for sure.
No, now I have to get them to send me a sample, a square, so I can feel it. So I'm waiting till it, means I can actually touch it, and then I'm good. Then I'm there. So anyway, so what you've learned, if you're talking to a big CPG beyond the media mix, what do they need to know moving forward? A big CPG, big retailer, what do they need to know based on your experience and success over the last 10, 15 years?
I think that they need to know they need to adapt or die. Like, I just think it's kind of like riding a bike. If you stop pedaling, you're slowing down. And I think that the world is changing so quickly. Apps are popping up, digital space. You can't keep people's attention for very long at all. So I think brands just maybe need to be a little more nimble. I think it's really hard for those big CPG brands, but a little more reactive, a little more nimble, figure out how to shorten up their lead times to, hey, we see something trending on TikTok, let's make it right now. It can't be, like this is trending on TikTok 2 years later, it's going to come out on the shelf. Some of that stuff I think is really, really going to be helpful in the future.
Yeah. And when you look at your children, girls and women and men, girls and boys, what do you see there? What do you see as sort of, and I think we talk a lot about shoppers and how they live their lives and how they want to spend their money on goods and services. Are they going to be spending differently? Do they care about what we do, or are they really thinking about other things and other places? And
I don't know. Is this predictions?
Why not? You've got 6 kids. No, 4 kids. 4 kids. 6 kids.
I think that we might see, like, long term, like my little 11-year-old now, when she's an adult, we might see a little bit of a swing back towards non-digital. Just a tiny one, like in the toys that they play with. I think in the way that they're raising their own kids, I think that having grown up in the digital space, they may swing back to like, hey, I want to raise my kids a little bit less online, because I think that they're going to see and learn the pros and the cons to being in the space like we are today, and might swing back a little bit. But I think shopping wise, I think it's going to be just a lot more savvy. I feel like the tools are getting better and better. The technical tools, the electronics, the web, the metaverse, all of those things are just giving us more instantaneous access, easier access. Things are quicker. I don't shop in the grocery store to save my life anymore. I just shop on my computer, send it to my house, it's dropped at the door, things like that. I think it's like making your life easier. And I don't see that unwinding. I think people really enjoy the simplicity and the ease that the tools are giving us in our lives. Yeah,
I will agree to that, being an online grocery shopper. Although when I want a great cheese, I might go to the cheese shop and inhale all of that. Well, this is, as I expected, this has been, I don't know what the word is, revelatory. I think that's a word. It was great to hear you in October. It's been great to follow you and watch the family grow, which is really stunning. I'm sure at the moment, if you go back to the, some of the earliest of your digital content, it's amazing to watch the kids grow, right? And see where they are in this moment in time. You look like one of them most of the time. But I must tell you, I was really taken by your wonderful imagery for the holidays. You were all dressed up and looking fabulous and glam, and then the next minute you look like you'd been to the most amazing party. And I was thinking, boy, where did she go over the holidays? That's pretty fabulous. So I do feel like there's sort of that, that insider view of what Mindy McKnight and all the little and big McKnights are up to. So thank you for sharing all that. But really, thank you for your content today. Thank you for all the work you've done. It's really, it's exciting to see. And it's exciting to see that you've brought a big company like Walmart on the journey with you, which is great. So happy New Year. Happy 2023. We will wait to see what the new shelf looks like and what March looks like. I'm tickling your toes. You'll text me later.
Oh, thank you. So hoping 2023 is a great year for everybody.
Yep, indeed. Thank you, Mindy. Cheers for now.
Thank you.